20 that we sent in won at the state level, which is a pretty good percentage. The theme this year was Dare to Dream, and they were encouraged to write about their own dreams or how they've been inspired by the dreams of someone else. So these were some of our winners, and Dr. Baldwin will have.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. So again, we're extremely proud of these young folks. I have a certificate here for Blakely Moore. Blakely, is she here?
No.
Kyle. Sarah Baird. Simone Bates. Madison Bird. Maya. Alexandra Norton. Sydney Moore. Anna O'Toole. Isaac Mormon. Emma Weller. Ian Ray. Brittany Coleman. Maya Baird. Michelle Lane.
Miss Lane is up there. Miss Lane is our Forever Young winner. The members of our reading council can also write and be awarded.
I think Miss Lane has won multiple times.
She has. She's quite the author. These students will be honored in Raleigh and also at our local Young Authors Celebration on March the 19th, I believe it is here. And in Raleigh the weekend before, where they will get their medals for the state for winning, and they'll get a book that's got their writing published in it.
Okay, guys, thank you. And we're going to, if y'all want to leave now, but let's hold everything up so you don't have to stay. We'll hold it. We'll continue the meeting here just for a second.
Thanks for coming. Bye, honey. Miss
How are you doing? Wonderful. Good job. Here's his report. Oh, yeah.
Oscars, right? Have fun. Get over it.
Right, that's the water.
How are you?
No. And we're also also going to do one other thing while we're here. I understand we have a spotlight recognition for National Board Certification. So Dr. Baldwin, while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to hear that.
We'd like to recognize Miranda Manley. She has received National Board Certification. This is a very involved process. It requires a lot of expertise and a lot of reflection. We really appreciate you taking this on. We're very fortunate to have National Board Certified teachers in our county.
I giggled when we said that, but I promise you, I don't think you were giggling while you were trying to get everything done to get there.
No, it was a lot.
I'm sure. So we're very proud of you. That's correct.
My husband's really glad it's over with.
I'm sure.
Did they find his cards?
All right, moving now, we'll get back to board of order. We do have a couple of changes we'll make also. But anyway, first, all the board members had a chance to look at the minutes from our meeting from back on January 26th. Are there any changes, additions, deletions? We have a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Do I hear a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved.
Mr. Chairman, have you had a formal vote to excuse Mr. Cage?
No, Mr. Higgins, we did not do that, so
There's a
formality.
yes, sir.
I will make a motion to formally approve that Mr. Excuse Tommy for being out sick tonight.
Yes, I pretty much told him not to show up. We have a motion to excuse Mr. Cave from this meeting. Do I hear a second? On the motion second, all in favor, say saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Yeah, Tommy, I think, has the flu, shall we say, and I don't want anything to do with that. So
Because Jim would have to stay here.
yes, I think we put him back there. Let him breathe with someone else. Adoption of the agenda. We have the agenda. I do need to make two quick changes. Before we do that, we're going to move some things around to try to accommodate some schedules. We're going to move right after public comment with the board's permission. We're going to move Mr. Weller. Jeff Weller's here tonight to give us, I think, the update on our softball field and the track project update. So we're going to move him forward so he doesn't have to sit through that long before we get there. Jeff, thanks for coming down. I'd also like to move at the end of our Section 3, after personnel, or actually Section 4, prior to commencing the other part of the agenda, I'd like to move Tracy Talent forward. We'll move him right after we have that, prior to going into policy Section 5. We'll have him, Mr. Bell, give us the update on the middle school crow's nest. That way, because I know Tracy also has an engagement he needs to go make, so we think we'll have time to do that. Were there any other changes or?
Just about Coach Green, if he's not able to get that in by that time, he has another appointment I can take care of if I need to.
I believe, Dr. Baldwin, under fundraising requests, don't we need to add one more Macon Middle School PTO?
That Mr. Maslow spoke to him just before the meeting. We had that one day.
Okay, all right. And then under new personnel, where it's fourth item down, Gary Brown, interim social studies teacher, the effective date needs to be changed to March the 2nd. That's not there.
All right, so we'll change the new personnel. We'll be changing the effective date for Mr. Brown into March the 2nd from March the 9th. Mr. Bell, is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
I would make a motion to adopt the agenda with Jeff Weller being moved forward, Tracy Talent being moved also, and adding the change date for starting for Mr. Brown to March 2nd.
Is Chris back there? Chris, if we start intruded on the time you need to leave, raise your hand.
I have to leave at 6:45 to go work at a basketball game.
Oh, we got you. We got you covered on that. We'll get there. We got a motion to adopt our agenda. Do I hear a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. I think all we got on our spotlight, Dr. Bowens, we've got the first two, so we have Dawn here with us on Youth Risk Behavior Survey. That's great.
So we have the results back from the 2014 Macon County Youth Risk Behavior Surveillance System Survey. We're going to shorten that to YRBS as I'm talking. So when I say YRBS, this is what we're talking about. The purpose of the YRBS is to monitor priority health risk behaviors that contribute markedly to the leading causes of death, disability, and social problems among youth in America. And this tells you when it was developed in 1990. It's a voluntary survey, and it's a tool for a needs assessment curriculum planning for Macon County schools. It is confidential, anonymous, and it was administered in April of 2014 in Macon County schools. And these are the people who contributed to the making of the document. The topics covered in the YRBS are alcohol and drug use, injury and violence including suicide, tobacco use, nutrition, physical activity, and sexual risk behaviors. The YRBS does not survey private schools, home schools, or dropouts, so that data is not represented. And this is self-reported data versus direct observation. The YRBS tells who, what, when, and where, but it does not explain why a trend is occurring or how it is happening. The YRBS is rigorously reviewed for validity and reliability. The CDC uses reliable information. Experts are gathered and they review the YRBS. They will either throw out or reword questions as needed. The data is reviewed for dismissive response patterns as well. For the YRBS in Macon County, the results were compared to the last YRBS, which was in 2011, and long-term trends were also reviewed from 2002 to 2014 for middle school. The results were also compared to YRBS results from an independent sample of North Carolina students. We only have the analysis for the middle school, even though we have the data for the high school, the funding that we had available. If you'll remember, we could do the analysis on either middle school or high school, and middle school was chosen as that's where the at-risk behaviors, we can address those. We have the high school data. It's just not in a comparative analysis form. So these long-term trends will be basically for middle school. The decreasing trends of at-risk behavior indicate good news with double-digit decreases in the percentage of at-risk behavior. These are not the only decreases that are addressed in the report, but these are the ones that are statistically significant. I put some of the data, increase, decrease, which is good, which is bad. I put a thumbs up on the right-hand side if it's upward trends, and then on the other slides, as we get to some of the others, you'll see a downward thumb. So the violence-related behaviors, these are all positive changes. These are things that are for the better for the violence-related behaviors. And for tobacco use, again, these are good trends. And for number 3, it says the percentage of students who try to quit smoking has decreased at the rate of 14.1%. We consider that to be a good thing because the other 2 bullets are telling you that fewer students are using tobacco. For the alcohol and drug use statistics, it shows you that the rates overall for all of those bulletin points, use of any drugs has decreased. with the sexual behavior in education, if number 2, I underline increase because you would think that that wouldn't be a good thing, but that actually is a good thing because it shows a positive trend that more students are talking with teachers or other school adults. Okay, for the increasing trends in at-risk behavior, again, these are the trends that are statistically significant. So the 3 that were indicated in the report that pointed out were suicide, alcohol use, and general indicators about extracurricular activities by the students. For the sexual risk behavior, since the 2011 Youth Risk Behavior Survey, these comparisons indicate statistically significant changes for the better at-risk behavior. That's probably going to be a little bit hard to read, so I'll tell you what it says. 24.7% more students have been taught about abstaining from sexual activity. 32.7% more students have been taught about AIDS or HIV infection. 27.8% more students have been taught about sexually transmitted diseases, and 3.2% more students usually talk with a teacher or other school adults about STDs, HIV, AIDS, or pregnancy prevention. So those are statistically significant rates. For violence and injury, this slide indicates a statistically significant change for the worst and at-risk behavior in that 10.2% students rarely wore a helmet when riding bicycles. And with this slide, this indicates a statistically significant change for the worst and at-risk behavior in that 9.2% students carried a weapon more than, in 2014, more than 2011. Addressing the nutrition, 11.6% more students reported perceiving themselves as slightly or very overweight. So this could be, there's a thumbs up and a thumbs down, it could be good or bad. They may be realizing that they have a health risk and are addressing that by losing weight, which is a good thing. Or there may be a percentage that are more unhealthy. The middle school students who were trying to lose weight, again, that can be a good thing. They may have realized that they needed to lose weight, and they're doing it in a healthy way. 6.8% more students ate junk food 3 or more times per day. So that's a negative trend. And addressing the physical activity, 9.3% fewer students were physically active for at least 60 minutes per day on 5 or more days of the week. 46.1% fewer students participated in PE 5 or more days a week. This is where the Macon County data was compared to North Carolina data and showed that Macon County students are less at risk on these items: being bullied on school property, watching 3 or more hours of television per average school day, playing video games 3 or more hours per average school day, and indicating they were trying to lose weight. These next 2 slides are showing that students in Macon County reported being more at risk than the comparative North Carolina students. I highlighted some of the keywords so it'd be easier to pick out: the one about wearing a helmet when riding a bicycle, carrying a weapon, talk about sexually transmitted diseases, and talking with their parents and considering them slightly or very overweight. Less students indicated they ate dinner at home with their family, that less students participated in extracurricular activities. More students indicated they considered themselves to have a disability, and this disability can be physical, mental, emotional, or communication related. They indicated they were alone without a parent more than North Carolina students, and that they strongly agreed or disagreed that they felt alone at times. So the good news: Macon County is doing tremendously good work in combating at-risk behaviors. Numerous indicators show decreasing instances of at-risk behaviors, and long-term improvements are also noted for tobacco, alcohol, and drug use. The areas for improvement that were mentioned by the report, nutrition and physical activity, that's where we were, their increased consumption of junk food, decreased level of activity, that's taking it in the negative trend when there's less physical activity and extracurricular participation in extracurricular activities like sports, band, drama clubs, those kind of things. And the overall rate of students reporting that had sexual intercourse is up. And in this context, the Macon County Middle School males were reported at more risk for not being taught about abstinence and disease. These are the people that we want to thank for contributing to the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. Of course, the Macon County Board of Education and School System, as their sign says, everything they do is in the best interest of the students. This is a document that they can use as well. Macon County Public Health, Partners of Healthy Carolinians of Macon County, Project Lazarus, and CARA, they're the ones who did the statistical analysis data. Most of all, we want to thank the students of Macon County who participated in the study and their parents. In this document, there's a lot more information than what I went over. I went over the statistically significant information. So if you have more questions about it, you'll be able to look through the document and dig, and look at what you're interested in. And you can also take that opportunity to participate in things that are occurring to address the at-risk behavior. We're also in the year that we're doing the community health needs assessment for the county, and this data is incorporated into that document, and it's a great help. Today's Monday. Wednesday morning, this document will be posted on Macon County Public Health website. If you go to www.maconNC.org, and then you'll go to the public health icon, and then you'll go to the Healthy Carolinians link, then it will pull it up and it'll be listed with all the previous youth risk behavior surveys as well. And it'll be on there Wednesday morning in its entirety.
Anything else? Any of the board members have any questions? Thank you. I know it was a quick list, but thank you for bringing that to us. And it's nice to know it'll be published so everybody can look at it if we do have questions.
I'm trying.
Mr. Woody, would you check, is there anything on here for public comment?
Tim, you need me to help you with that?
Why don't you come help?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So check the podium outside. No one has signed up for public comment. However, we will look at everyone and say, is there anyone here that would like to address the board at this time during our session of public comment, or anything you might like to bring to our attention? Doesn't appear to be that, so we'll move on. As I promised, we're going to move. Everybody with Jeff, we're going to turn to you now. It's all right, about the update for our softball field and track project there in Highland.
I appreciate your time this evening. I wanted to kind of give you a general idea of what we've been talking about. There's been some discussion about the track and softball field at Highland School. Those of you that are familiar with it, when you pull up to Highland School, it's just before the school on the right-hand side, of course. And actually what I did originally, before I say too much, I'll kind of show you. We'll go through about the first 5 slides, which is just pictures of the existing facility. And I just took general pictures, these for those of you that haven't been there anytime recently. This is where we're talking about, has the track. For those of you that are not as aware of it, the track is
First switch. There you go.
Sorry. Okay. 6 miles plus 100 yards is a mile. 6 laps plus 100 yards is 1 mile. So kind of an odd shaped track. It also is odd in the fact that if you notice down that left-hand side of the page, picture, you see a higher fence. That's because the softball field requires a higher fence because it's significantly too small for a softball field. So a lot of the discussion that we started with, I'm also the president of the Booster Club and a parent. So we started talking to the Booster Club, we started talking to people in the community about making some repairs to the track. If you maybe switch to the next one. You can see the track itself is 80% asphalt, 20% grass. And it's, unfortunately, you know, I'm an architecture firm, so I'm familiar with the construction side of things. You know, if we try and just put a top layer on that, all that's going to come back through in a year or two at best. So we'd have to do a top coat, a binder course and then top coat. And we just kept getting into more and more money as we started thinking about what we were going to do or how we were going to make this presentable. Most of the fence is rusted. The maintenance building on the far end is not big enough, and the garage door is falling off, etc. So there's got some issues that need some repairs. So we started talking about it a little bit further, and then we realized that it was getting a little bit too big for the Booster Club. So we started going out into the community. It does have a nice scoreboard. So you just keep, I think there's 2 or 3 more pictures. Just down the other side of the track, the main road on the left. This is kind of what you see, the back fence. You see some of the dugout and field house on the right. I think there's 2 more pictures. That's what used to be a batting cage. There's no really much of a batting cage anymore. But okay, let me talk about the plan a little bit. So we started talking to people in the community. We started talking to the school. We started talking to the principal. We talked to Mr. Baldwin. We talked to Jimmy Tate. We got involved, et cetera. So, and we started thinking about how we would go about this project if we weren't going to throw good money at the bed. And we weren't going to sink $100,000 into something that then in 5 years is worthless. So we looked at the bigger picture. We do have drainage issues there. We do have a substandard softball field. We do have a track that's small and it's not able to be a full quarter-mile track. We understand that. But it really would be nice from a PE standpoint if it was a 1/6 mile track and was a little bit wider so we could accommodate other track elements like a long jump pit, high jumps, etc. Right now our students load in a school car, drive down to Franklin, practice high jump, and drive back to town just for regular track practices because we don't have any of those facilities. So that's a little bit cumbersome to say the least. So that's when we get into the fun part. The plan that we came up with was to look at that entire property area as a clean slate. Look at it as if take everything down to the ground. There really and truly is not a whole lot there that is worth salvaging, even to put into the new format. So the budget estimates are the construction side of things. The hard costs for things, everything from building new maintenance building to dugouts to demo the track structures, etc. All the way down through long and triple jump pits and permits, temporary facilities, all that fun stuff. So one of the questions was, we're at $259,000, but at that time, that's some basic hard costs. That does not take into account. It doesn't take into account drawings, design, engineering, drainage design, etc. So you can go to the next page. We also started soliciting within the community for people that could help with the construction side of things, the design, the engineering, the landscape architecture, and the actual construction itself and landscaping. As you can see there, we started, these are additional costs. These are things like construction management, miscellaneous construction, design, drawings, engineering, landscape construction, sodding. Those are all amounts. And what we've come up with at this stage of the game, at least, as a game plan at least, the total project is $404,100. And we have, Lipoli Construction has volunteered to coordinate any and all construction at no expense. We put a value to that. Design and drawings, both between engineering, landscape architecture, all the design drawings that would certainly come back to you. We don't have drawings at this point. We're looking for an initial blessing to proceed ahead into the next level. But between my firm and Hank Ross Landscape Architecture, who's also in my office, we would be donating all of our time and efforts for that. So there would not be any architectural fees associated with the project. And then the landscape construction, Jim Tate has actually stepped up and said that he would not only install all the sod for the entire property, but he would also purchase it at his expense as a donation. So that's another $35,000. And I mentioned Lapoli Construction was $35,000, and then combined between myself and Hank Ross would be $35,000. Equipment, private donors for field equipment. We already have some money being donated through the Rotary Club in Highlands. They did a 5K this past year to help refurbish the track originally. They gave us, it's just shy of $10,000 we already have. And then landscaping and signage. Also, we're going to solicit private donors in order to accomplish that as well. But this is actually our front door, our doorstep into the school. And currently, to put it kind of bluntly, it's kind of an embarrassment. It's not good looking. It's not attractive. We want to put signage. We want to improve the curb appeal, let's say. So when people drive up to the school, it's an impressive first impression. Big question is, how are we going to pay for it? The Booster Club has already taken and deposited a check for $150,000 from the A.L. Williams Foundation. We have that in our coffers, set aside in a fund. I'll skip the second one. We'll come back to that certainly. Lapoli Real Estate Construction is $35,000 of the 404. My firm and Ross Landscape Architecture together is $35,000. Take Landscaping, $35,000. Rotary Club of Highlands already $8,600. We've deposited. And then the Booster Club has committed to, between themselves and other private donors, to come up with an additional $47,500. We already have people offering to buy the high jump pit and the other equipment, so we have a lot of that. We're probably halfway through that already if we get approved and move forward. I initially went to Jim Tate and the other commissioners about this simply because we're looking for an additional $93,000 from them. I can't speak to that, only they can. They did ask, of course, that you all at least bless the project as a project, or at least a potential project, so that they can go back and request the $93,000 out of county funds. But that's how we slate to pay for the total project. And that's essentially, like I said, we haven't done any design or drawings yet. We want to get an approval to at least move to the next step, and then that would be our next step. And we would certainly bring those back to you all for design and consideration as well. Any questions?
I would say it's very impressive, the people that are willing to go above and beyond to help our school. And I know you've done a lot of work, and I appreciate that as a parent and as a community person and as overall the Macon County School Board. And I would make a motion that we give this for our blessing and proceed with drawings.
I have a motion. I'm going to look at John here in a second, but I have a motion. Do I have a second? We have discussion. We have that.
I'll second.
Okay.
Would you mind to just restate the motion for me so I know who you are? Sorry.
Yeah, you can tell me if I need to say it different. I would make a motion that we give our blessing to continue research on this project and start with drawings, where they can continue on with this project, continue to go to the commissioners and see where we can get this project to get to.
We still want to come back and show you all the design.
Yeah, I said that was what was headed, Joe.
That needs to
and
I'm not questioning what y'all doing, let's say, but I think a motion also needs to say subject to final approval of the renderings and the various.
Yeah, I think we're just giving, in my motion, I would just give some opportunity to start with their drawings and to be able to proceed that the school board has the blessing.
And I think that's fine. There's nothing in the world wrong with the board passing that motion tonight. It is also legally possible, and I've actually begun drafting an agreement for this exact project, whereby you as the school board say, you community group, please do come in and do this project. And so long as there aren't school funds involved in that, you can just do it. You can give them your blessing to come on and have at it. And thank you very much for the donation. I guess I have a question or two about how that's going to work if there are public dollars involved.
understand. Actually, we discussed that quite a bit. If we're asking for 93,000 in public, what we're going to do is, or our hope is to pull out specific pieces of it, like the maintenance buildings, the construction of the fence, et cetera, and let the county put that through a formal bid process.
But
That's 93,000 to 404. The other rest of it, we actually have paving companies willing to come in and do it at cost, local paving companies, et cetera. So we won't be bidding those items because that'll cost more.
And I think, and this is more going to be the county's bailiwick anyway, because clearly we don't have the funds to put into this, but I want to work with them to ensure that you can cut out those portions and just put those out to bid, and this isn't a $400,000 project that you didn't do formal bidding on, which you would have had to. But I think you can do it.
The short answer to that is because we did have that conversation, because I was trying to figure it out the same way. I go through a lot of public bids professionally, and we were told that that would be a feasible approach. So
I just wish every presenter would offer a huge project like this and also have done all the legal work on it ahead of time.
Well, this is the county.
It's a great savings.
I didn't do any of it. The county did.
I think you got the questions I had. So we have a motion that we give our blessings, I guess we're going to use, to allow the committee to proceed, subject to bringing back the final plans and specs. So, any other discussion? All in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. And thank you so much, Jeff. Please pass on all the different blogs. We really appreciate the effort and everything that's going on. I lied to Chris a minute ago. I thought we'd get to his part, and I just saw my watch, and we're already almost at 6:45.
30 seconds, Chris. Go.
With the sports commission, I would like to kind of skip that and let Chris go ahead and submit to us the Highland Soccer fundraiser. Tell us what it is. If there's no questions, I think we'll just go ahead and approve it when we get there, Chris. But let's give us the background on what's going on with that.
Well, it's just we're going to camp in July, and the cost is $430 per student or per player, and we are holding 2 car washes. We propose to hold 2 car washes and a dinner at our spring concert, dinner/silent auction.
What's for dinner?
Well, that's a good question.
What are you cooking?
I have a parent here that just happens to be a soccer parent too, so she might.
That cannot cook, so
I was going to say.
I was wondering what you're making.
Yeah.
It's either going. It's probably going to be spaghetti, or maybe hamburgers and hot dogs, but probably spaghetti because I think the coach is going to cook a significant part of it.
So this is for a trip, Chris?
Yeah, we're going to soccer camp, and that's has to be approved still.
I think we'll approve that for Blaze of Funds. So
I can't remember if we've approved it yet or not.
we're about our order before so don't forget we have a request for Highlands Fundraiser. Go ahead and entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the fundraisers that were presented. Blah, 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 blah.
All right, so do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion second for the Highlands Soccer Fundraiser. All in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, Chris. We'll let
Thank
you
you.
go. Basically, where are we at with your time? Good so far? Okay. I'd say somewhat in line with the agenda. Next we have our overnight out-of-district trip requests. Are there any questions from any of the board members on those? No. Got a motion for one to approve and a second for the overnight out-of-district. Any other? No, not being any questions. All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Fundraising request. This is Parks. East Franklin Elementary PTO.
Okay, we're planning on having a movie night at Smoky Mountain Center on Friday, April 17th, and then having Zaxby's night on Tuesday, March the 17th. Fundraiser.
Zaxby's, do you have people working there?
No, we just drive through and get your
right.
food and so on.
And this is just PTO for general fund.
Yes.
I make a motion to accept fundraisers as presented.
Sorry, have a motion. Mr. Channing, can I ask you? Yeah, one question. When we're having this, where we're having an event that's sponsored at an off-site location like Smoky Mountain Center, are there any insurance concerns, liability about injury, anything like that, if we're approving those?
No, sir. I think anything like that would be covered as a school event. The same as if you had them, yeah.
I'm always Mr. Pessimistic about that stuff. So I need to ask the
I mean,
question.
if it's a positive way to look at it is you can be sure that something goes wrong and you'll get sued. That's a good way to look at it.
Okay.
But I think insurance would cover it, yes.
Okay.
But you have a 50 chance of winning.
Well, there you go. Okay. Put up suggestions here, all of them improvement in math, that's all right with the board. We're going to do one step, I give them nods. Franklin High School fundraisers, Mr. Woody.
School for the smaller kids, and then the dance team, and the cheerleading's gonna be the same thing, but they're gonna have a dance clinic. We're actually gonna have a cheer clinic and a dance clinic at the high school for the.
We do this every year, don't we?
Do this every year, same thing we did last year.
Collins, which we already approved. Macon Middle School band fundraiser. I think I saw Mr. Maslin.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a card like the football team was selling. It's got this one's a little different. They're $10. The cost of the card is $5. You get extra ones, but they're nationwide chains. McDonald's you can use anywhere. They're not just local businesses.
Okay, so this is a totally
No, they
new one.
did it last year. The only thing different on this one is that now the McDonald's and stuff, instead of using them locally, you can use them in Tennessee, Georgia, wherever you go.
I thought we had some questions about the competition with the Panther card last year, so this is a little bit different slant on that.
Yeah.
Which is good. Okay. Any questions, Mr. Maslin? And then Charleston?
Yeah, the Charleston trip is kind of unique in that, unlike Highlands, but we have a sponsor who is going to give us match whatever they raise fund-wise, which is pretty good. So if they raise $4,000, they're giving $4,000 to the trip. But the fundraisers in that is Mr. Greenwood in our shop class. They're going to make cornhole boards and sell them. That's always a good seller. Mr. Clark, one of the teachers, is going as an artist. They've designed a shirt that he's going to design it and they're going to sell the shirts. They've been in the coffee sales. They're selling coffee. And if you look on there, I think they put what the percentage is. Did they put that on there? I've got it on mine. I made them put what percent we're getting. We're getting at least 43%, I think, on all sales that we're doing. So it's not. I know there's some discussion years back about that. And then they're having a movie night at Smoky Mountain Center for Performing Arts, March 20th. 100% of all the ticket sales will go towards that trip as well.
Just to clarify, Mr. Maslin, I want to make sure, because this is all we got.
Yeah,
This was just the movie night. There wasn't anything else on the other ones you've mentioned. So there'll also be a sale of...
I think the coffee was already approved. I've just got the total list of everything because they started the coffee sales. I think they did that fundraiser back a while back.
Okay, but the cornhole is also part that was not. This is new, is it right?
Yeah, I don't know what you're looking at there.
All we had was this.
Okay, that must be the add-ons. I was looking at the total.
Maybe this has got
Yes.
the Smoky Mountain Performing Arts night, the movies, and then the 2 movie nights.
Yes.
We didn't have anything about the cornhole, coffee, or the other
I think
ones.
they were previously approved back.
The coffee did. I don't remember the cornhole though.
No.
We previously.
Really, no cornholes on there?
I don't think so. So I want to make sure.
We can scratch the cornholes. We do them, so we're not in production.
No, let's do it. What else was the other one you mentioned?
The other one is just coffee sales. Mr. Clark was thinking of designing the shirts.
Okay, shirts.
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't even know if that'll be needed, just because of
We
where
might
they're
as
at
well
right
cover
now.
it in case
Yes.
you do need to do it. That's why I want to make sure. So our motion would include the 2 as we knew of for move sales. We previously approved the coffee, but also the possible sale of cornhole boards
Yes.
and also T-shirts.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Maslin? If not, entertain a motion to approve the fundraising request as presented.
Make a motion to approve the fundraising request as presented.
With those 2, do I hear a second? All in favor, say by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. I do have one quick. Have we approved Mr. Maslin?
I'm sorry.
Mr. Woody grabbed the Charleston.
Yes. I have it right here.
I just wondered. I thought we had earlier, so I couldn't remember if we had it or not. But that was coming back.
Where are you going?
May 7th through the 10th.
Okay, good. I just wanted to know. I was going to say if we hadn't, get that to us.
It was. It's
okay, good.
Yes, sir.
Personnel. I think we have Section A is just resignations.
We're going to
personnel.
We're going to do Tracy. You're going to do him now.
I was going to do him right if we do this.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so we have under personnel section 4, we have personnel, new personnel change in status, transfer, and substitutes. Do I hear, or does anyone have any questions of any of those categories or subsections of Mr. Bell.
I was reading them, Mr. Bell, and sometimes they're somewhat confusing with, a lot of these dates are prior to us ever seeing here. Are they just formalities?
Do you mean like when somebody elects to take FMLA leave? They can retroactively say, well, that I'm going to start that 12 weeks then. So sometimes.
Yeah, those will be, like you said, and then all the other personnel normally will say in parentheses, board was previously polled.
Well, I mean, it just says on there February 13th. I mean, January 5th to the 8th, 4 days total. I mean, so I assume.
That leave without pay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
It's a formality.
Yeah.
well, it requires board approval.
But they're already happened.
I know.
Okay, I'm just asking.
If you don't approve it, then they won't receive, well, they're going to just leave without pay anyway, but they can be penalized.
I just wondered, I was just looking at the dates, a lot of them, and most of them had passed by, and I was just wondering how it works. So that's fine. I just was trying to understand. So thank you.
What is
backwards.
they had to do it out with 6 days.
Okay, I just, like I said, I was just trying to understand a lot of the
And
dates.
Angie requires it, so that's the reason I did.
So it's basically Angie's fault. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve. Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. Bell?
That has to go in the minutes.
Got it.
Mr. Craig, do you want to have questions on that? All right. So we're basically have a motion to approve under personnel section A, B, C, and D, and E. I have a motion to hear a second.
Second.
A motion, all in favor, someone saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You're to the ayes that time.
Oh, sorry. Aye.
There you go. Next is ongoing interviews. Mr. Bell?
As usual, we
These are two very familiar looking categories.
Right. Well, the second one, I got some good news about bus drivers. We just finished the bus drivers class this week, and we now have several people now waiting, and all they're waiting for is just the behind the wheel training.
Uh-huh.
And once we get that group through, we should be good for the first time having a reserve of bus drivers.
That'll take place prior to the next board meeting, correct? You'll have them ready.
Well, the only problem that we're having with bus drivers is that the person who was doing our region had to go out on disability, and so now we're having to get someone from another region to come in and train and do these classes. So it's a little bit slow, so it may take a couple months to get all these folks trained behind the wheel.
I was going to say, if it would help, probably if they had it done for next meeting, we could always try to get approval as soon, a little bit before then. But it sounds like the next meeting will work just as well, correct? Yeah. Okay, good deal.
What's several mean?
Do what?
How many do you think you got?
Probably what, 10 at least on that list.
Right.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, someone saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. All right, Tracy. We're going to move you up now. We're moving under, I think it's under buildings and grounds. Tracy, our school's closing at Macon Middle School.
This is a letter from, well, to bring you up to speed, we're concerned about the slab, the upper slab for the crow's nest at the middle school. This
Mr. Madden
engineer,
was particularly concerned.
yes, Mr. Madison is concerned. These cracks have been there for several years. This used to be a planning area, for some of you that may not have been around, but it used to be a planning area for all the teachers. Had desks up there and file cabinets and just a lot of weight up there for several years. But that has recently been taken down several years ago. And then, of course, the cracks are still there. There is a swag in the beam. You can visibly see it. I sent some pictures on another email. I don't know if it came through or not. Then we had this engineer come and look at this, and he pulled the drawings, and he's just telling us that this is a waffle slab. If you go in there and you look at it, underneath of it looks like a waffle. And through this, there's 1 1/8" rebar that's overlapped in every waffle. He says this is not going anywhere. They don't build things like this anymore. He says this is the best of the best. And with concrete, of course, being a brittle material, and the rebar being a ductile material, it's actually doing its job. It has flexed, and he said that the beam is doing its job. So he suggested what he calls crack monitors, and he sent us 4 of them, put on the face and then underneath. That's what he's showing there. And we have installed them, and it's got a gauge on it that we can monitor to see if this ever moves anymore. Other than that, he says it's good to go, and as you see there in the letter, he sees no problem with the slab.
In fact, you could not afford this type of design today because that waffle design he's talking about, he said he's only seen it in probably maybe 3 or 4 places in all of western North Carolina. It's a very, very expensive type of way to design. And he said he would not see it normally in the public school.
Okay, one question, you said the beam, there was a sag in the beam, is that, he indicated that was
If you
normal?
can, that middle picture there, that if you stand at those steps and look back, you can. It's about 1 inch or 1.25 inches, maybe 2 inch swag in that from all that weight that was previously up there. But he said that the beam has done its job. See, it's cantilevered over those columns there.
Right.
And when you have that, of course, that takes away from some of your structure. If you had columns all the way across there out at the end, wouldn't do that. But that's the way they designed that, and he's saying that with the rebar, it's doing its job.
No question. Any other questions, Tracy? Thank you. It's nice to hear good news every time. And just want the building to go. Policy, school psychologist contract. I see Paula's not here. I know we had a copy of that. Dr. Baldwin, you going to speak to this, or? I think it's just a standard. I just wanted this done before.
And she's obviously in desperate need of school psychologist.
Well, she has contracted with us before, has she not?
I make a motion to approve the contract.
Make a motion to approve and accept the contract presented. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Board Policy 726, Injury and Loss Prevention, second reading.
Mr. Chairman, I'm actually going to recommend that the board table the second reading approval of this policy. It is required to be, as I've told you about it in the past, it is required to be submitted to the State Board of Education. The date by which it had to be done in the previously was, I think it was March 15th. They have extended that until November 30th because there's some questions about exactly how it's supposed to work. So I would just recommend that we, since we have the time to take anyway, I think Dr. Baldwin and I will continue to discuss what that's going to look like between now and then, but we'll bring it back to the board for second reading in time to have it submitted to the State Board of Education.
We need to take a motion to table, or just...
If you take no action, I'll still bring it back to your attention before.
So no action means it's been tabled in essence, is that right? Okay. Moving on then, we'll table that until we hear, until Ms. Henry brings it back before us. South Macon Elementary School Student Handbook, Mr. Bowles. Were there any changes in this, Dolly?
No changes at all.
That's why I noticed when I read it, I didn't see that there were any changes or anything strange, so it's just the same that we had before. We just need to approve it due to...
Make a motion to approve South Elementary Student Handbook.
Have a motion to approve the South Macon Handbook. Do I hear a second? Second. Have a motion to second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. I'm going to start getting the ayes here. A little more resounding. All right, Mr. Bowles, thank you. East Franklin Elementary, Ms. Parks. I think you did have a couple of...
Yeah, we just had 2 changes. We wanted to just add the parent portal here. And then we wanted to add, down at the bottom, we picked up the students, the little cards that we give parents to put in the cars so that when they come through to pick up the students, that we give them 2 cards every year, at the beginning of the year. And we just want to charge after, they have to get extras later on down the road. We want to charge $1 just to cover laminating fees and stuff like that.
What is it used for?
when the parents pick up their students, it's easier for us for the parents to have the student's name in the side window, so that when we're calling out the person out there, they can just look at that car and those names of the students are in there. Now, if they do not have these cards, they have to park and come inside and get their student. So it's for the safety of the students.
Are we allowed to charge for that?
I think so. There's a cost to it. So we get 2 cards at the beginning of the year,
Yeah,
correct?
we just give every
No,
every student.
charge is for a replacement.
Yes.
Just to cover the cost.
It's the parent. I mean, otherwise, the parent has to come in and show us identification.
I don't have a problem with the safety issue of it. I just have, just frustrating. Sometimes you might not have $1 in your pocket, because I know I come, just be frustrating not to be able to get that. I
No,
understand that.
you'll get one at the beginning of the year.
I realize that, but when you replace it, I'm just questioning a little bit. I didn't know, because I know there's some laws that say you can't charge certain things. So if that's what you want to do,
The parent would have to come in and request the replacement anyway, correct?
Yes.
At that time, when they request, we say, well, the charge for that would be $1.
Yes.
The parent would have to initiate that. Otherwise, if they don't want to do it, then they'll just have to park and come inside.
You just come inside.
I make a motion to accept the 2 changes. Mr. Parks.
They can come in for free.
Second.
Motion to second, that we accept the revisions as presented. All in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
There we go. Any opposed? I'm so proud of y'all. Y'all take some off. That's good. Discussion of personnel policy, Dr. Baldwin. I think this is one I asked you to put on. Dr.
Yes,
Baldwin, is
Mr.
that
Chairman,
right?
members of the board, as you all well know, there's been quite a bit of legislation that affects our personnel policies, the Macon County School Personnel Policy Manual. As a result of the new legislation, we need to revise and update our current policies. For instance, the board need to decide how we're going to handle 1-, 2-, and 4-year contracts for teachers in lieu of career status. Because as you know, career status will cease to exist in 2018 unless the courts rule in favor of the current teacher lawsuit. John DeVille, current NCAU president, has requested the board policy that would provide teachers with due process rights, similar to the one that was enacted recently by Wake County. While I'm in support of due process rights, I would recommend that we wait until we bring our other personnel policies up to date before we consider a new personnel policy that deals strictly with due process rights. I would like to see us update our current policies and incorporate due process into those policies if possible, and also incorporate teacher input into the new policies that deal directly with due process. Mr. Henry, would you like to add anything to that?
Let me just say that I completely agree with that. I do think that we have a large number of policies that need to be revisited. That I have become somewhat familiar with the policy that Wake County adopted, and I don't have any grave misgivings about it, but I agree with Dr. Baldwin. I think that it should be considered along with a more wholesale review of policies. And while I'm at it, just as a preview of coming attractions, I have been in discussion with School Board Association about what a more global policy manual update would look like to get Macon County Schools back on the sort of more model policy that they have. And we have been recommending that to all of our clients. So as updates come in, it would become much easier for the district to handle updates to various policies.
I think there's more choices now in regards to how much the cost is for
Correct.
those revisions. It's a little more of a stepped.
And so that's correct, Dr. Baldwin. We'll have some options for the board to consider about trying to accomplish that while also keeping the cost at a bare minimum. But we'll be back to you with some options about
I think it's important to point out that there will be costs associated with updating our policies regardless of how we do it. So,
right.
How many other policies, John, are we talking about, Dr. Baldwin, John, about integrating with the due process? You know, do they float in line with the due process?
Well, the due process policy itself is just one piece of it.
Well, there are certain parts of our current policies that deal with due process as well. For instance, policy 705 has a statement in there about due process. Our RIF policy has a statement in there about due process. And what I would like to do, or what I would, with the board's permission, would like to do is items where they would fit into our policies as we bring them up to date.
What time frame are you talking about, Dr. Baldwin? Any idea?
It depends on how we go about doing it.
I think we need to be careful though, because a lot of this, or some of this, is under litigation right now.
That's right. And I think at the best, we're talking about a number of months. But in the meantime, the policy that Wake County adopted enshrines in local policy what is essentially already state law, no matter whether you're talking about a teacher that has tenure or one that is under during a contract year. The only question is to extend further rights into non-renewal decisions. And we're not there yet anyway. So I can promise you we're going to operate under state law in the meantime.
Right.
I don't have an exact date for you by which we could get done at the moment.
Sure.
It may be possible to look at the personnel section if that's something we need to get done more immediately, separately from everything else.
Well, there's a number of those policies that need revision right now. We know that.
Right.
We begin that, and as we're doing that, look at incorporating due process into those policies that we can deal with. But the items like career status, for teachers who currently have career status, we won't know about that until possibly 2019.
That's true.
Well, we'll have an interim until 2018 where we have teachers that normally would have been granted tenure that will be in limbo until 2000 or until litigation is finalized or until we get to that stage. Is that right?
Well, teachers that have tenure now, have career status right now, will retain career status until 2018.
Right.
Career status will not be granted to any new employees.
And the courts have said that if the state doesn't put back into law the authority for a local board to give tenure to a teacher, they don't have to do it, and for anybody who hadn't already earned it by 2013,
June 30th, 2013.
they don't have to have it available. It doesn't have to be granted. But it looks like it'll be retained for teachers who had already earned it. But even that's not, everything's up in the air.
I have a question.
Sir.
Well, as far as currently now, when you mentioned state law, could you just give us a brief description?
Yes, sir.
Of due process for someone who is terminated, if they don't have career status right now? What is due them?
A teacher who did not earn career status by June 30th, 2013, was eligible for a one-year contract, and that was the case then, and the litigation hasn't affected that. So it's a series of one-year contracts until 2018, at which time the board can begin to grant 1, 2, or 4-year contracts. And that's part of what Dr. Baldwin mentioned. We need to come to grips with some basis on which the board's going to make those decisions, because otherwise, you're still in an arbitrary and capricious standard for non-renewal decisions. And how you get to decide on 1, 2, or 4 year, we need to have some sort of policy to guide the board, I think. So during the school year, it doesn't make any difference whether you're on a one-year contract or under tenure. You can only be dismissed during that school year for a list of reasons. There's just a set list of reasons that essentially have to be proved to the satisfaction of the board, and there has to be substantial evidence on which you can make that decision. The difference for these teachers under a one-year contract is that they are all subject to non-renewal every year. Much like in the past, before this change in law, you had probationary teachers that were on it up to 4 years. They had to serve before they were eligible for tenure, during which time the board had the option at the end of each year to non-renew. And that could be for any reason. That was not arbitrary, capricious, personal, political, religious, discriminatory, that kind of thing.
But do they still have due process to appeal that? Or that's not the case in that probationary 1 year?
The ability of a teacher, of a probationary teacher to appeal was pretty limited. It got to be, they added just in the year or two before all of the changes to tenure rights changed, that a teacher in the year that they were eligible to be granted tenure had the right to a hearing before the board about why they should be non-renewed instead of giving that 1 more year and get tenure. So they have also sought, the General Assembly sought to limit the appeal rights of a non-renewed teacher who is on a 1-year contract. So it is quite a bit different for those employees.
It looks like it's a crisis time for teachers right now as far as, it seems to me that they're all been thrown into that 1 year situation more so than ever before.
Especially if it's hired near or after June 13th.
Right.
June 30th, 2013.
So they've got a real legitimate due process thing if they were going into a year of tenure.
If they've been working in Macon County Schools for 3 years, on June 13th or June 30th, 2013, then and they were about to earn career status,
They didn't get it.
they did not get it, and they will not ever get it.
That's right.
What Wake County did, they basically tried to, what they were doing in essence covered those very classes part of the people we're talking about, John, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking at you. So
Yes, sir.
if we change and add this, some consumer due process, we then extend back the very ones Coach Goldman's talking about, where they start having some due process rights had the tenure remained. That's what they were doing by this, what Wake County passed, that's what they were attempting to do.
Yes, sir. I think it's an attempt to make in local policy a system that mirrored what was prior to the changes.
And basically what that means is that I don't believe that any person on this board, I don't think anyone at the central office wants to see anyone dismissed for one of those 5 reasons: a personal reason, a political reason, a religious reason, or a capricious and arbitrary reason. And basically that's all we would be saying with a policy like this. And matter of fact, that's in our policies.
Right. I would be very hesitant to have the board do anything to further tie your hands about what you can legally do about an employment situation, though, because beyond what's required by state law, because
I guess my questions are coming from here. We were very, as a board, before Coach came with, we came out very strongly favoring, and matter of fact, passed a resolution feeling that tenure should be continued.
yes,
And I don't know if that has changed, or at least hasn't changed in my thoughts. I don't know. I can't speak for Stephanie or Missy, either one, but I know it hasn't changed in my thoughts. So, to me, looking at this will send a message to our teachers that we understand their concerns, and yes, we're aware of what's going on, and we're basically sending a message to them that we understand where you're at, and we're going to try to do our best to extend those rights to you ongoing. Is that an inaccurate statement? If we were to look at trying to incorporate something like this into our policy?
and you certainly can look at doing that in local.
And that was the reason for my questions right
Yes.
there.
I follow you, and as I say, I do think it's something perfectly legitimate for the board to consider and something that we can bring back to you. But as Dr. Baldwin said, there are a lot. It's a part of a much larger picture of things that we need to try to fix. Not necessarily all in one monolithic thing, but
I'm just going to take my preference, and I'll let the other board. This is something I'd like to move to the front and have us look at doing if the rest of the board members agree with me. But I just think it's important that we do that for our teachers and send that message back, just like Wake County did, that we understand and we're very supportive, and we like this. And it's important to a lot of people, is the way I feel about it. And see nods, comments.
I just, if our administration's on the same page with our board and everything, I think it should be moved forward because we're very fortunate to have the kind of teachers that we do in Macon
Right.
County. You know, we should be above and beyond if we're legal to do so.
Is that the consensus? You've seen a lot of nods, Counselor, so if you and Dr. Baldwin could take the example and hopefully as soon as possible bring that to us. Make my request, so we can look at it. Okay? All right. Very good.
So we'll just begin updating our personnel policies and find ways to either incorporate or develop a policy that will cover these options.
Correct. That's pretty okay. Good deal. All right. Thank you, guys. Curriculum and instruction, our school calendar.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You know, with the changes in the calendar law, and with our recent inclement weather, it's become more and more evident that we need to have local control of our calendar. You know, we're within the legal requirement of meeting instructional time, which is 1,025 hours. But the issue for me is that just last week, our students missed 30 hours of instruction. And under the current calendar situation that we have, we're very limited in how we can make those days up. Basically, we only have 2 work days left in the school year and spring break. And as you all know, it's very difficult to make any time up over spring break because a lot of families have already purchased plane tickets and made travel arrangements and that sort of thing. It's very difficult also to have Saturday school. It's just not instructionally worthwhile. We only have 2 other remaining non-instructional days in our calendar. That's March 27th and June the 12th that we can convert to instructional days. So having missed 30 instructional hours last week, we're only looking at the possibility of having 12 instructional hours that we can make that time up with. So at the end of the day, our students are going to be short instructional hours compared to other districts in the state who may not have had as much inclement weather as we've had. So it'd be very beneficial to our students if we could have local control of our calendar, develop a calendar that we could incorporate work days into the spring semester and possibly start the school year earlier so that we could get those work days in and still end at sometime in June. That wouldn't be too late. And this is especially needed right now because if I look at the weather forecast for tonight, we're looking for 1 to 2 inches tonight. So we're looking at another 6 hours of lost instruction.
So I'm going to try to make sure I'm understanding this. So the 30 hours we lost last week, at this point, you do not have to make those?
Legally, we do not have to make those days up.
Okay, so not legally then, as educators, are you going to try to make those days up?
The only 2 options that we have are those 2 work days. March 27th.
There's a chance of us having no more school days. It's going to be. So at this point, you're just going to have to kind of see what happens.
Well, we're very limited because even March the 27th, for an elementary teacher, they really need that work day because they have to average grades by hand and then they have to make comments on each report card. So March the 27th is, if we miss additional days, then I would begin to look at March the 27th. June the 12th is a little bit of an easier day, but it's still, you're bumping that last day of school from June the 11th to June the 12th.
Okay, and Dr. Baldwin, I feel like there is no education happening on June 12th.
However, if we move the last day of school to June the 12th, that means that we've moved a day of instruction on the week prior. We start testing, for instance, right now, let's say that we start testing on the Thursday of the week prior to the last week of school. We move that day up 1 day, so that means we can have instruction.
Friday, that's the day of instruction.
Exactly. So we do gain a day of instruction. June the 12th, for instance, last year we did the same thing. We went half a day on June the 12th. That actually picked us up 1 full day of instruction because that last day is a make-up day of testing, as you said, and as you pointed out.
On the books, it might give you a full day of instruction. I don't think that actually.
Well,
and I'm not trying to be.
The last day of school is not going to be a whole lot of instruction, regardless of when it is.
Absolutely.
But if we move that day back.
I get what you're saying, and I won't argue the point there, because I do get what you're saying. So what can we do?
The only option that we have, we can convert March the 27th,
No,
which...
no, no. What can you do? Is there anything that you can do just to try to get any kind of calendar?
Well, I think that one of the things that we want to look at tonight, and the reason that was on the agenda, was for a resolution to have local control of our school calendar. And I'm just identifying reasons for that.
So you're just saying you can request it again and tell them the reasons why?
Yes.
Okay. I guess that was where my point was. I understand what you're saying about the days at this point.
I guess we'll just use that segue, skip and go on right into the resolution. Mr. Henry, we didn't change our agenda, so I'll go ahead and do that, right?
Yes, sir.
I think what we're going to do is Dr. Baldwin's pointing out the difficulties that he has as superintendent knows about getting, because of these mandatory start days and end days and all that stuff in between. So we had actually sent one of these. We passed a resolution about 3 years ago, if my memory right, requesting a return of, requesting control of our calendars be given to the local school boards. That didn't serve any, that didn't work, but I think there's a new movement front in Raleigh now asking that again, and what this has in front of us is a list of the counties that have passed a resolution requesting local school calendar authority. So I firmly believe that that's something we ought to consider, and as a matter of fact, we ought to do.
Just last week, there was a number of bills that were put before the legislature to bring back local calendar control. I don't know how far those bills are going, but a number have been filed this year. So I think as school systems continue to make these resolutions, that other legislators will bring forward bills.
So these people don't actually have it yet, they just ask for it.
Exactly.
None of us have it. That's the whole point. There's a group of legislatures who seem to think they know better, and let's put it, go ahead and cut to the chase, it's due to the tourist industry on the coast.
And the summer camp.
And the summer camps, they're worried about keeping that cheap, easy, available students, labor available, and they're not thinking about what's best for the students. Like for now, there's no reason in the world why we should be sending them to worry about early college, being able to start there with our students, so we're in line with that, and we can't do that right now.
And I can tell you that even the waiver process that they do have for districts that can qualify for the 8 days or more missed, which now has been redefined again, part thanks to us, to be only days, total days missed, and not, no early dismissals or, well, they legislatively fixed their little red wagon, but even districts that qualify for those waivers are having the same kind of discussion right now, because you just can't get any help from a waiver either. It can only make so much difference. And even so, one of the counties that I know has passed this is Watauga. They passed it, I think it was February 9th. And they have a waiver, and it has impacted them a total of 4 days of wiggle room in a place that snows and have to turn around.
The issue that I'm having is that the General Assembly's idea to remedy this is to just allow us to not make those days up. And that helps us in terms of being able to end our calendar, but at the end of the day, we're still missing a tremendous amount of instruction because we can't start school early.
And then you say to them, okay, can we take into consideration when you're comparing our EOGs that I love so much, that yes, I mean, these kids have 2 or 3 weeks more of instruction.
I think it's something we ought to do, guys. I think we ought to pass a motion authorizing Dr. Baldwin to work with council to come up with a resolution, and we join these other counties and forward that to our legislature.
I make a motion for Dr. Baldwin and Mr. Henning to proceed with trying to join these counties and make a resolution to get back control to our local administrators.
So a motion that we draft a resolution.
Second.
And we have a second that should be signed both by Dr. Baldwin and myself. Is that right?
It would be.
And it will draft resolution be signed by the superintendent, by the chairman, and send it to the appropriate parties to return control of the county to our local school board. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. We hope it works. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to get the impression there's been more attempts at that this year than in the past.
Certainly
Is that right?
Yes.
Maybe it'll come to fruition. Because going back to, we actually have in our 2015-16 proposal for our calendar. Angie and Tim, is that right? This is what we're gonna, we can consider this and then adopt it after we've had a chance to look it over, is that right?
Right.
Do we have to adopt it tonight?
No.
Because I would like to take a look at it, just, I mean, I would like to just look at it a little bit, and I'm so hopeful that you're going to get it changed. We don't have to do this anyway, but I know we're not going to wait for the last minute to do that, but I would, if we could table it for 1 month, just to.
We're going to test what, I said what I was planning on doing.
Send them on instructional days, to instructional days, depending on what the web does between now and next week.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we have is just proposed 2015, and Angie, the color codes I understand y'all did. If there's anything y'all wanted to bring up before I keep running my mouth.
No, we took this before the calendar committee. Every school had a representative, and we had a board member on the calendar committee. And this was the calendar we came up with. Attached to it is a narrative that kind of gives you an idea of how many hours and how many days, how many work days we have, how many working days for teachers. It's just kind of a narrative there. But this is the calendar we came up with. The only change that we did make recently was moving the October 23rd work day to October 30th. That's in order to allow our teachers to attend a multi-district professional development day. It's going to be off that day. That way we don't have to pay for teachers to go or hire subs. Just moving that work day 1 week. So that's the only change we've made recently on the calendar.
So here we're going to leave it. Let's let everybody else, between now and next meeting, let all the board members look this over, and then when we come back, we can have any questions. It was on your, it was attached to your,
I didn't know if you had one.
to the agenda. No, it was, I printed it off, it was attached to our agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can
I
pull
can
it.
still pull it up. I just.
We also have Macon Early College's calendar there, and I think Todd's looked at this, and we made the changes. He asked us to make on that, and it's there for your approval as well.
I do have to, and I know I ask this every year, and I get, it's a dumb question, but transportation, by starting earlier for early college, do we have any issues with transportation, getting the students there?
No, we run very abbreviated shuttle busing from 2 elementary schools in Franklin High School and my school. Parents just have to get the kids to those elementary schools, and then when we take them home, we drop them off at those elementary schools.
You have any issues with doing that?
Yeah, anytime that the rest of the school system is not in and we are in, that's what we do, whether it's fall break, beginning of school, any other kind of break.
Okay. That sounds familiar, Todd. Thank you. I think that's great. Another question I had, I looked at this. On the calendar, we're showing March 25th. According to my color code, that's a holiday? What is that? What is that day designating? What holiday is that? Or am I misreading?
I think it's Good Friday.
Okay.
Is that a Friday?
So it's probably Good Friday that
Easter falls a little bit sooner
It does.
next calendar year, so that allowed all of us to put our spring breaks together, which is wonderful.
So it's just part of spring break when we're going there, but it's not technically a holiday then?
It is. It's the state holidays we have.
It is recognized by state holiday. Okay. Yes, my question, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we have to follow the exact same state holidays that the state.
Good Friday. It's not a federally recognized holiday anymore, correct? Good Friday? Didn't think so. So it is state. Gotcha. Okay.
Next year's schedule has been approved.
Gentlemen,
SEC.
Angie, if you guys are on the calendar, I'd like to avoid that work day before spring break and incorporate that into the week of spring break next year if we could. I think that would give us some flexibility some of these days.
Which day are you talking about?
18th.
That's not a work day. That
Is
is
it the end of the 9 weeks?
That's the end of
28th
the
is the work day.
Yeah, 28th is the work day.
We can just
They
do
wanted
one
that.
week there, we go.
They wanted that to be able to do report cards and things like that.
So talk about you saying doing what with that?
Now, as it is now, spring break is a week and a day.
Right.
If we could just have spring break as a week
Right.
and then use that work day as a make day.
So it's not, yes, I agree with that. I had that same question. I said a weekend day is kind of a weird.
And actually, this is better than this year. Because this year, that Friday is Good Friday, and it's hard to make up a day on Good Friday.
The issue that the elementary teachers had, they have to grade reading tests, I believe, and that's a manual process, is that right?
K through 2.
K through 2? Yeah. And they don't have a day to do that if they don't have a work day.
And that's where we are this year with March 27th. That's the issue of using that as a makeup day as well. February 15th, I'm a little concerned about that being a work day as well. Because if that had occurred this year, we'd have had a work day on the 15th and then missed the following week. So we put those work days after February. That gives us some flexibility to make those days up.
Okay. As for all the board members, like I said, I'm going to step in. So look it over, guys. See if you have to look after looking at it. Go back, talk to teachers, or get all the input, and then we'll revisit this at our next meeting. But like now, this is just a template as a proposed calendar.
That's the draft calendar. We'd like to get one as soon as we can because they have to start scheduling for next year in Power School pretty soon. So
if we do that next month, it would be
next
acceptable?
month, yeah.
When do you think these changes at that point adopted?
That works for you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's what I said. Everybody look it over. There's no such thing as a bad question. I actually reminded tonight was what I would have had. Dr. Cole will have a chance to review it since he's back. And we'll look at adopting it on our March meeting. Okay. You guys got anything else on the calendar? And your team that we may have missed?
No.
Okay.
Let me say about the Macon Early College calendar. SCC's school calendar for this coming year has already been voted on, and it's set. That's what he's basing his on.
Trying to base it, get it into that, exactly. So I don't see an issue. I just want to make sure we hadn't run into any, with that change, any hardships for students that want to take advantage of getting transportation, getting to the school. I'd have a hard time if we did that. Here's my thoughts. If that were the case where we're preventing a child to take advantage of the transportation, we'll take that into consideration if we adopt this and make sure we're together and make sure all the students are able to get there. Okay. But that does correspond with SECs, then, Mr. Bell, is that right?
It does.
Okay. Building and grounds, QZAP funding, Union Academy and Highland School, Mr. Bell.
You all have previously already seen and we discussed the need for renovation at Union Academy and Highlands High School wing. There was a meeting of the Facilities Review Committee, which Mr. Goldsmith was present at that meeting, and from that meeting, it was a recommendation that you as a board then would look at this and then make a formal resolution to request to the county commissioners that they seek a QZAB loan in order to do the renovations to these two locations.
I think that was the commissioners, especially on the Union Academy question. They assumed that they feel that they saw the need to proceed with it.
Both commissioners that attended the Facilities Review Committee said that they saw this as a definite need, but before they, as a county commissioners, would consider it, it would have to come as a formal request from you all.
Any questions, comments?
I move that we make a formal request to the county commission to go forward with this.
A motion to be request county commissioners to go forward with the QZAP funding. Any other? Do I hear a second? Any have a motion? Second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. I think we need to do that. Very well funded. We took care of the Crow's Nest and the Highland School. Business and finance fund redistributions, and let's look at both the redistributions and the budget amendments. I think in mass, and we'll approve all of those by the one vote.
First redistribution is for East Franklin, and they are basically moving their school pitcher money into several different accounts, but the bulk of it's going into this general account. Franklin High School is the next one. And they are taking $1,700 out of the volleyball fundraiser account into the season pass, and that was money that was borrowed originally from the season pass account for the new sport table at Franklin High School. So it's just a payment back.
Budget amendments.
First one is state,
And we do have an additional $32,190 coming into state. The bulk of that is, well, we have a little over $5,500 going into transportation, a little over $2,000 going into vocational, a little over $1,000 going into PRC 03, which is custodians, clerical, and substitute pay. $7,044 is going into PRC 63, which is Paula's exceptional children money, that special money that she requested and she received. And there's another $7,670 that we actually have going in this month for panic alarms, but you will see that next month it will come out because that was a mistake on the state's part. They issued us another panic alarm grant this year, and we didn't apply for a panic alarm grant because we completed that project last year, but I had to show it going in, and then when they get it corrected on their end, I'll have to take it back out. So that's what that's for.
Tease us with it, and then take it,
Yes.
give us, and then we'll take
That
it
is
away.
correct. Yes. Tim's been on the phone with them, I think, all this week trying to get that straightened out.
And,
The next one's capital outlay. Tim,
I'm sorry, guys.
look at capital outlay, please, that's okay. The first one, I just need to make a correction from last month. The amendments were correct, but I had put the incorrect total down there in the increase above, so that should have read $9,764.04. So that would make the total wrong. So I'm correcting my error for this month. And then the next one is actually the amendment for this month, and that's just the $824.33 that you all approved last month for the AED units that were purchased.
any questions? If not, I entertain a motion. Go ahead, start Stephanie.
I would make a motion to accept Angie's resolutions. Sorry, I was getting it back in front of me here. On East Franklin, Franklin High State capital outlays.
So I motion we accept the fund redistribution of fund budget amendments as presented. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Budget summary. Angie.
Okay, I just got back from the School Business Officials Conference last week in Greensboro, and Philip Price, who is actually the Chief Financial Officer for DPI, started off by telling us he did a kind of about a 30-minute spiel on what we need to look for in the upcoming year, the 15-16 school year. And he started out by telling us that we were $271 million, we're expected to be $271 million short by the end of June. And we are under a continuation budget, but they have asked for a few expansions, and one of those expansions is $100 million to cover the ADM increase that we currently have of $17,400. And he is pretty sure that this will happen from the people that he's talked to. He thinks that that will happen, and that will be an increase to the budget. He told us to also go ahead and plan on a reduction of 25% to teacher assistant funding. We talked about that last month, I think, when we were doing the summary. So for Macon County Schools, that's approximately about $279,000 in teacher assistant funding. The pay raises for the beginning teachers are very likely to happen. No word on any additional raises for anybody else, but the beginning teachers are going to go up from $33,000 a year to $35,000. So for Macon County Schools, that's about $69,000. And that is the teachers that are, beginning teachers that are just paid out of local funds. That's the ones that we currently have on local. He also told us to anticipate an increase of up to about 5% in hospitalization, and that's effective January 1, because that runs on a calendar year as opposed to a school year. And also that it's very likely that the retirement matching is likely to increase by anywhere from 0.25 to 0.50. So that's also an increase that we are likely to have. And right now the matching is 15.21%.
This gets better and better, doesn't it?
And I do have, you do have a summary in your folder of where we stand right now. And if you'll look at that, it's a spreadsheet. And I did it based on about 7.5 months of expenses because February payroll has actually not been run yet, so it's not included in these figures. So that's the bulk of our expenditures for February for the 8th month. So that is not included. So we should be somewhere around 62, 63%. And if you'll look at each fund, at the end of each fund, it'll tell you the percent spent versus the budgeted amount. So we're pretty much in line with where we should be right now on each of the funds. The only concerns that we would have at this point in time is the revenue. We are expected, we just found out within the last couple of weeks that we did budget $150,000 for timber sales, and we're only expected to receive about $60,000. Last year, we actually received a little over $178,000 for that. So that would be a reduction in our revenue, and at this time, that's the only reduction that I know about. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
So the ones we have where we spend 100%, we're showing 100% of those are to be expected, where those expenditures are based on where we're at in the school year.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And some of them are you might be, are you looking at that statement of PRC 39? Is that what you're looking at?
Looking at various ones where it's 100% spent. I've seen several that's in 90, 100% range.
A lot of those are specific amounts, like if you look at the statement like PRC 39 down there, that was the grant, $39,722 that we received for SRO.
Right.
So we have sent that money on to the county, so that is the only expense that will come out of that. And that's typically what you'll see on the ones that are 100%. That's where we know exactly what the amount is. It's just a wash.
Amy, did you figure the impact on the retirement contribution and what that would look like in a year?
I did not.
We will have to do that.
What is it like, do you know?
The retirement contribution, 15.21.
You know what the number that works out to?
No, I don't.
I'm just curious, because that's a really substantial one. I mean, they're going
It's very
to
substantial.
double or quadruple it, so.
But all that's going to figure in as we start working on it.
Right. Particularly the locally paid.
Fortunately, we have fewer locally paid teachers.
Interesting, yeah, due to our efforts. Fund balance, where are we on track with it right now? You just estimate?
I would be guessing right now if I
That's all
said
I'm asking,
anything,
right.
but
We're all right.
yes, we're in good shape. And as you see, if you compare the expenditures, we've not appropriated any fund balance this year, and at this
Correct.
point, we've not had to turn around and appropriate. So
Which is good.
it's pretty good at the end of the year.
So last year we had, at this point, we had that.
I don't think we had actually appropriated, because that comes at the end of the year when we're moving all the people around and trying to plug in all the state and federal dollars that we can.
Right.
We did use $116 last year.
Good. So it looks like we will give some good news. Yes.
Hopefully by the end of the year,
I'll hold you to that when you get there.
thank you.
Angie, did they say anything about driver's ed, John?
He did, Mr. Price did say that in his personal opinion, he felt like it was a done deal. But he said that the people that were in his office that dealt with it on a daily basis felt like that it is a possibility that it might be reinstated for one more year,
The funding.
the funding.
When you say done deal, you're talking about it's after next year, after that it's gone?
He felt like his personal opinion was that we would not get it next year.
At all?
At all.
In those discussions?
But would still be required to offer it.
Okay. Leading into your discussion, Dr. Baldwin.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we considered in the past few months a resolution regarding driver's education funding, and I just to bring it back on the table again tonight. What we're looking at with the current driver's education for the legislation, basically what they've said is that driver's education funding will no longer come from the state highway fund. They've directed local education agencies to fund that from funds available. Now, for us, as you know, Angie, you just spoke about a fund balance. Our fund balance is minimal at the current time, and the state last year, or this current school year, provided us an amount of funding of $192 per ninth grade student. That amounted to roughly $75,000 for Macon County School. That $192 and that's $75,000 did not adequately fund driver's education. We actually had to provide about $25,000 from local funds to fully fund driver's education. That means that each student in Macon County costs about $275 for driver's education. Now, say that if the state doesn't fund driver's education, but still requires the Macon County school system to provide that service to our community, we'll need to cut $75,000 from our budget, which would be roughly a teacher and a teacher assistant. Or we would have to charge parents that amount, that ADM funding, which is about $275, providing driver's education funding to our district. And I'll ask that the board consider a resolution to that effect.
I think there's much discussion. I hear a motion that we follow Dr. Bogman's recommendation. We adopt a resolution urging the state to fund our driver's education.
I make a motion. What is that?
I saw you nodding yes, Fred. Is that right? Motion is second. Again, I think the resolution would be drawn up where it would be signed. Also, part of the motion would be signed by Dr. Baldwin and myself. These conditions. We have a motion that we get a resolution and process it and send it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
I'd like to see us start maybe studying some ideas of what could happen maybe through the community car dealerships, the insurance agencies and things like that, put together, maybe exploring something where we could do partnership fundraising or something to offset the cost here.
That's a good idea. Very good. Says keep that consider doing those.
Based on
And just comments, I think we might as well get used to this. Pretty much we'll be very shortly. Board of Education information. West McCobb Pace Setters representative, Dr. Baldwin.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Last year, Randy Shepard was the Pace Setters representative, and this year we need to recommend a new representative. I'd like to recommend Diane Clark for that. That needs board approval. So we can send her name in the Pace Setters.
And she is good with that?
She did.
I'll make a motion to accept Dr. Baldwin's nomination of Mrs. Cotton for that position. Second.
I must have accept Diane Clark. All in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. I was still correct. It's not on. I did hear about so we're still looking at changing our June 2015 board meeting date, Dr. Baldwin, is that right?
I'd like to request that the June board meeting be changed from 22nd of June to 29th of June. We had a board member that had a conflict, and also the closer we get to the end of June helps Angie with closing out her rules.
I make a motion to change the June board meeting to
Sorry, I had
June 29th.
I motion to move our June meeting to June 29th as requested. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Got 2 seconds. So all in favor, so I'm saying aye. Any opposed? Something to small schools funding, Dr. Baldwin.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. On Saturday, Coach Goldsmith and I met with Senator Davis and Representative West to discuss how the two K-12s affect Macon County schools funding. Macon County is in a unique situation in the state of North Carolina and in our region. We have two K-12 schools, 2 of the 3 K-12 schools left in the state of North Carolina. We are considered a wealthy county in terms of property value, but we're a Tier 1 county in terms of poverty rate. So this means that we don't qualify for low wealth money. We also just above the cutoff for small schools money, yet we have 2 of the smallest schools in the state of North Carolina. Now, what you have on the screen right now is how the state plans teachers in all of our schools, but particularly Nantahala and Highlands. Mr. Bell, would you like to sort of explain that funding process?
I'm sorry, I was checking the email when you said that.
I'll go ahead and go do it. If you look at kindergarten funding there, the state gives us one teacher for every 18 students. At Highlands, we have 23 kindergartners, so we receive funding for 1.28 teachers. However, if you scroll down, you'll see the Nantahala, no, don't scroll down, just move the cursor down, I'm sorry. Nantahala has 6 students in kindergarten, so they receive funding for 0.33 state-paid teachers. First grade through third grade, we receive funding for 1 for every 17 students, 1 teacher for every 17 students. Highlands receives funding for 5 teachers, and that's exactly how many teachers they need. Nantahala has 22 students in grades 1 through 3, so they receive funding for 1.29 teachers in grades 1 through 3. They earn funding for fewer than 2 teachers, but they have to have at least 2 teachers for kindergarten, first, second, and third grade. In grades 4 through 6, the state provides us 1 teacher for every 24 students. Highlands has 77 students. They receive funding for 3.2 teachers. Obviously, they have to have more than 3.2 teachers. The state doesn't understand that at Nantahala and Highlands, students don't come in blocks of 18, 17, 24, 23, and 26.5. The bottom line is Highlands receives state funding for 18.59 teachers, including a hardship position, which is the state provides us that for those 2 small schools. Nantahala receives state funding for 5.8 teachers. Nantahala has 28, or Highlands has 28 teachers assigned. Nantahala has 14 teachers assigned. That means we provide local funding for 9.4 teachers at Highlands and 8.19 teachers at Nantahala. That's just for the teachers. Now, if you factor in the personnel needs for administration, for custodians, for secretarial, the burden on Macon County comes to about $1.7 billion. Now, that's over and above the state funding. Now, what this means on a per pupil basis is, if you look at the Franklin area schools right now, our students, our per pupil expenditures are about $8,200. In Highlands, that goes up to about $8,800. In Nantahala, because of the small enrollment, that cost goes to $14,000, almost $15,000 per student. Now, let's consider if Macon County did not have William Mountain and the Colossagia Gorge to navigate and transport students down. If we were Duplin County, for instance, and we're flat and didn't have to worry about navigating those mountain roads in the winter, as we've had this past week, we could incorporate every single student at Highlands and every single student at Nantahala into the Franklin area schools, and our class size would go up by 2 students. So in other words, all those costs, that $1.7 million, would be completely eliminated. Our per pupil expenditures would go down to $7,300, $1,000 less per student. Now, this is a cost that's unique to Macon County. No other county in the state of North Carolina has to deal with the William Mountain or the Colossagia Gorge. There is one similarity, though, in North Carolina. That is Hyde County, which has the other K-12 schools. Hyde County, if you'll go to that next slide, Tim. You can blow that up. Hyde County has Ocracoke School. The per pupil expenditure in Hyde County is $13,000 per student. That is the #1 per pupil expenditure in North Carolina. Their local expenditure is $2,700, so you can see that they're getting funding from other sources besides local. Now, I put other schools in our region up there. The total per pupil expenditures in the left-hand column over there. Asheville City School spends about $10,000 per student. Clay, $8,900. And then Macon, down near the bottom, is $7,100. And I know that's a little bit different than the other number that I used, but you'll see numbers all over the place depending on which form you look at. Some consider child nutrition and capital outlay needs in the total per pupil expenditures. I'm not sure exactly what this was looking at. I did get it off the DPI, but the main thing is that for comparison purposes, I used the same ones in this particular spreadsheet. The point I'd like to make with this, though, is Macon County, even with those two K-12 schools, which drives up our per pupil expenditures considerably, you can see that we're one of the lowest per pupil expenditure counties in our region, and much lower than Hyde County. And if you look over to the right-hand column, you'll notice that even though we're one of the lowest in per pupil expenditures, our local per pupil expenditures are a little bit higher than some of the other ones. For instance, Graham County, even though they spend $8,900 per student, they only have a local contribution of $8,700. And this is for three reasons. Graham County qualifies for small schools funding. They qualify for low wealth funding because their property values, the tax ratio to property values is a little bit different than ours, and they qualify for small schools funding, low wealth funding, and they also get impact aid money from the federal government. So their per pupil expenditures are much higher than ours, even though our local expenditures are higher than theirs is. So our students are at a disadvantage in terms of funding. When you consider Hyde, Asheville, city schools, and every other system, basically, in West North Carolina.
I would like to say at this meeting, as you can see, Dr. Baldwin was tremendously well prepared. He prepared our state representative, our state senator, very well prior to the meeting and in the meeting both. So he made a tremendous case. I felt like that, you know, they were going to do their best to represent us on this. But I just wanted to make that point that our representation was excellent.
And what Coach is speaking, as you know, since the Hyde County has $13,000, they spend about $13,000 per pupil. One of the ways that they're able to do that is they have a special provision from the state, which gives them additional state paid positions for Overcoat School. And basically what we would ask the General Assembly to do is to consider providing that same type of assistance to Nantahala School, and allow us then to use that funding for the other students in Macon County as well as students in Nantahala.
And Senate Bill 502 is what I found about Hyde County in that particular school. Very short. They get additional dollars.
And Senator Davis, I think, has proposed bills in the past. They've not got the Rules Committee. I think that he's got additional support this year from Representative West, and we're very hopeful that something will come out of the General Assembly this year.
We were assured they were going to file the bills probably this week, so we hope for answers.
We will take it. Let me comment, Coach Goldsmith, he's a new member. I know he took this on as one of his, the right word, personal agendas. I'm not sure if that's correct, but it gives things where he is aware of the inequity and he is working very hard to make the meetings and to talk about himself to get information to our representative legislature. So they're aware of what's going on, and hopefully it will bear good fruit. Good
They
results.
go over the mountain in the snow. So
There you go.
That was encouraging.
yeah.
Any other anything else, Dr. Baldwin?
Just current coming events, Mr. Chairman.
I think we have a packet of that. You want to outline those for everyone?
Yes, sir. Tuesday, February 24th. Tomorrow we'll have a principal meeting, weather meeting. I'll begin mid-year evaluations with principals on Wednesday, the 25th. On the 28th, at Franklin High School, we'll hold the Mr. and Miss FHS dance. On March the 7th, at Franklin High School, FBLA will host the Wade Hayes concert for colon cancer. Ms. Brooks was here last week and made that announcement. On Monday, March 23rd, we'll hold our next regularly scheduled board meeting at Highland School at 6 p.m. Next month, the 23rd.
Is that not good? They're good.
I prefer Highlands in the summer, because I don't like driving up there at nighttime.
Well, it's in the summer, it's still daytime when you're coming back down.
I know, you get to see all the ice on the rocks and all the things up to this time of year.
See y'all in April.
Lucky you. Do we have a playoff game tomorrow?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Highlands has one.
And Franklin has something because they want to.
Both boys and girls. The boys are going to Forest Hills.
The girls going to North Surrey.
West Surrey.
And then Hamlet is at home.
Yeah,
And
Robbinsdale.
Highlands is in
Highlands is in Highlands, but who do y'all play?
Blue Ridge.
This
Oh,
week?
that's right, yeah.
So Franklin did not get a home game.
They did not.
But
Their boys and girls are away. Highlands and then home.
We'll probably get snow.
Yeah, call it off again.
We'll need a second probably that. Okay. Anything else the board would like to follow? Thinking there was anything else that come to the board before we consider going into closed session? If not, any please.
Mr. Chairman, the purpose of the closed session is one at 143.3T6 to consider qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, condition of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public sector employee or prospective public sector. And I do anticipate the board will at least make a, have some minor action after.
Make a motion to go into closed session for Mr. Kenny's.
We have a resolution, give it a turn, we have a bunch to go in, do I hear a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? So moved. And for those, like I said, we're opposed, will be an announcement when we get back out, so thank you, earth shaking. Well, I think it's telling me to watch it in the future.
So that would take
Like, what's the weather look like? At this time, entertain a motion that we come out of closed session, back in open session.
Make a motion that we come back into open session.
There's a second.
Second.
All in favor, say saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Dr. Baldwin, I think there is an item that needs to come back to the board, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we had to have a resignation this past week, and I would recommend that you accept that resignation.
We need a name.
Do need a name. Sherry Demos, school psychologist, has submitted her resignation, and I recommend that we accept it.
I make a motion to accept Sherry Demos' her resignation as received.
As recommended by Dr. Baldwin. Do I hear a second? Second. A motion second, all in favor, say saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Anything else from the board? Not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
And I have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye, yes. Here we go.
All opposed, stay here.
Trying to get 7 yes.